So in this particular video, I want to walk you through quite a simple technique if you are a seasoned Flutterflow user. But of course, if you're somebody who is using Flutterflow more recently and kind of learning the ropes, I just want to walk you through this particular process. So in this particular video, what we're going to do is we are going to check to see if we have a row exists inside our database table. Now that may sound quite simple, but actually there's a little bit more going on just to make you aware of in this particular walkthrough. So what I've got on the screen at the moment is this is a very, very simple application where we kind of got a TextField widget on our screen. I've got a button here, and what that's going to do is when I hit that button, it's going to go to our database. It's going to check to see if the text that I've got entered into that text field is present within a particular column within our Supabase table. If it doesn't exist, it's going to come back and we're going to then report that back to the user. And of course, if it does exist, both conditions, basically, it's going to display a message. Now, the good thing about that, of course, is this is a very, very common thing that you would typically do in applications where you'll just check to see if there's a record. For example, it might be that you are looking to create a row in a database table, but you want that row to only be created if it doesn't already exist. So it's those type of scenarios that this kind of covers. And also as well, we need to be very aware of our users because they might accidentally put like a space in at the start or the end. They may decide to type something in that may be not the right case. It may be uppercase or it may be lowercase. So how do we solve those type of problems? And that's exactly what we're going to do in this little walkthrough. Okay, let me introduce you then to the database table here just to kind of set the context. So we're just going to be using this one single table here. I've got some other tables here, but this is the only one that we're going to use in this training database. It's a list of products, as you can see here on the screen. And what we're going to do is we are going to type in the text field, the name of the product. And of course, we're going to check to see if it already exists in our database table. So that is the context. Now, of course, what I've done inside my Flutterflow project is I've just done the usual kind of setup here. I've gone into the settings here. I've made sure Supabase is set up. I've got my API URL in. I've got my key, and here is the table that we're going to be working with. So I've kind of done the get schema. So we're all ready to go. And I've not done any implementation at all in my Flutterflow application. And then on the left hand here, on my screen here, I've now got the application up and running. I have selected to use the iOS simulator here just to demonstrate. But of course, if you are using the web browser, then of course you can test it in there as well. So we're just going to use this as our little test. So the application is up and running. So what are we going to do then? We're going to ask the user to type into our TextField widget here. So we have the product TextField widget. I've got nothing special set up here other than I've kind of got my name. I've got no values or anything like that. Nothing default here at all. It's just purely styling. And then here I've got my button here that doesn't currently have any actions at all. And we're going to work through that very, very shortly. So the user is going to type in here. This is going to then produce some widget state because this is a widget, so it's going to have some state. That state is going to be available to us. So this will be the text in this particular case. And of course, when the user hits this particular button, we then need to move through the process, and then we need to conditionally do some checks to see if that text exists as the name in our Supabase table here. So here's the name column here that we're going to use, which is just a varchar. So let's work through that together then. So let's add the action in. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into the action flow editor and we're going to do it that way. So we're going to build this up a little bit as we go along, and we'll start to solve little problems as we go along as well. So let's firstly start then with the backend query. So we are just going to go here. We're going to go to Supabase here, and we're going to say query rows. We're now going to want to do that lookup itself. So I'm going to select my table here, which is going to be the products, and then my filter, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to filter on the name. And where am I going to get that value from? Well, I'm going to say, is it equal to, at this moment, and we'll come back and change that shortly, I'm going to say, is it equal to then the value of our widget state. So our widget state is here, is product text field. This is going to be our text. So this is just a straight direct, has the text that I've typed in there matching exactly what is in the name column in our database table. That's all I'm going to do. And then here, I'm going to need to choose an action output variable name. I'm going to want to kind of make that query to our database. I'm going to get that result come back, and then I'm going to persist that in this variable, and I'm going to use that variable very, very shortly to then determine whether we've had any rows come back from our database. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm just going to give this variable a name. So this is going to be a uname. So I'm going to say products result, like that. Okay, so I've now got that variable. Now what do I do at this particular point? Well, now I've done that backend query, so that query is going to play out, and then in memory I'm going to have then all of my results now passed as a product result, and I'm now going to want to do this conditional check. So I'm going to put plus here. I'm going to say add conditional in. Now what I'm going to want to do is I now want to check to see if the number of items that I've got come back is greater than 0. Okay, so we know if we've got 1 or 2 or 3, we know that we're definitely going to move into this true state here. So we know that we've got that record that's going to come back. So I'm just going to choose conditions. I'm going to say single condition, and the first value is going to be, I'm just going to set that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say then that the action output here, so here's the action output. This is this products list, the product result that I've just created, that variable that I've just created. You can see that it's a list of products as a row. So I'm going to choose a product result, and I'm just going to hit this option here, and I'm going to say the number of items, and I'm going to keep that as it is. I'm just going to say, right, I want to know the number of items that's come back in my products result. Just hit confirm, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then say is then greater than, and my second value here is going to be 0. So we know that if I've got more than one that comes back here, 1 or more, we know we're going to head in this true direction. If not, we're going to head in this false direction. So I'm just going to hit confirm there like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to update my user interface to kind of put a little message on the screen to say, yes, we have got that row in our database. And then alternatively, what we're going to do is just to show a little bit of difference in the UI, I'm then going to show a little snack bar at the bottom if that product does not exist. So let's start with this one in a true state. So I'm going to say add action, and I'm just going to show a dialog here. So I'm just going to choose for dialog, it's an information dialog, and I'm going to say the title, and I'm just going to say product found, like that, and the message is going to be this product does exist, like that. Just leave that as okay. Now in the negative scenario, when there's no records that come back, I'm going to show this sort of snack bar at the bottom. So I'm just going to type in snack here, show snack bar, like that, and the value that I'm going to put in the message is no product has been found, like that. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it super simple, like that. Now once I've done, I'm good to go. So I'm just going to now just do a little refresh of my application here. Just going to restart that, and then we'll head over then to the simulator that is done, and we're going to have a look here to see what we're going to look for. So let's have a look for, let's say this one here, these Amazon Fire HD 10. So I'm just going to go now back here. I'm going to go here. Oh, sorry. Let's go to the simulator. Let's just paste that in here like that. Yeah, and I'll paste. So there it is. And I'm just going to say check record exists. And now the record has been found, definitely come back. But let's make a little mistake. Let's just now remove the 0 off the end, and say check record exists, and we've got that snack bar. The text isn't quite white there. If I change my dark mode there, then you can see here that it says no product has been found. So that is looking good. And I'll go back here, do 10, and then we know that one does exist. Now, the situation might be if the user accidentally puts like a space in here like that, we know that that record is no longer going to be found because that string has a space on the end. So we're going to go and resolve that in just a moment. But what we're also going to do is, I'm just going to move that space there, is what happens then, of course, if we then do a lowercase a like that and check the record. It's going to think that it doesn't actually exist. So these are the type of problems that we now need to resolve. So let's now head over, let's handle the first situation where we are looking to resolve the case problem. So if the user types in lowercase or uppercase or a mixture of cases, we still want that product to be found in our database. So let's now head on to that bit and do that now. So back in Flutterflow, we have a very convenient option for us to be able to filter based on the kind of different casing that a user might type in. So let's head back over to then our check button here. Let's open up the on tap event here. We're back into our actions, and we're gonna sort of remain in this particular properties here of this particular action. So we go down to filters. What we said that this was going to be equal to. So we're gonna get that direct kind of, is this value absolutely equal to this particular value? But there's something else that we can do, and that is we can then use this like case insensitive. So if we choose this here and we just go back to our value here and we go down to our widget state and choose product text field like that, that is all that we need to do. So we've kind of in kind of like programming terms, and we're kind of now looking for kind of this value that kind of is anywhere in the particular name of the string. Now we're just typing in the full product name here, so this will always work for us. But the key difference is that we have this case insensitive here. We don't care whether it's uppercase or lowercase. We want the kind of the filter to always match. So this is a really easy way for us to be able to check to see if those products do match. So let's just close that down. Let me just reset here and just restart our application. Now let's head back over to our application. Let's just choose another example here. Let's choose this one here, the Samsung Galaxy tab. So let's move back over here. Has the application started? Yes, it has. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to paste that in here like that. Just allow paste again. So there it is. I'm going to check to see if the record exists. Now we know that's going to come back. We've got a match there. But if I come here and I take off the uppercase U there and do a check again, we've got that record does exist, which is really good, like that. And I can do the same thing here, any particular area of this here. I can do uppercase T, I can then do a lowercase that and do an uppercase A like that and check the record exists. It's always going to come back there. So that's how you can then use that particular filter type in order to kind of make sure that that record is matching. But of course, we're going to move now on to this particular one, which is a little bit more involved. But of course, if the user accidentally puts a space in, if I check that, it's still going to come back and say no product has been found. So let's go and resolve that particular problem now. Let's head back over here. Now what we need to do in this particular example is that if we go back to the on tap here, what we need to do is we need to look back at this filter again, and we need to look at this particular value, because we're going to say, well look, we're going to pass the text that we type in to that particular text field. We're using that right here, but somehow we need to trim off the end space or the beginning space from that particular value. You want to always trim it if the user accidentally puts that in. And how do we do that? Super simple, is that we then go here, and I'm just going to remove this out completely. We're going to choose a selector here, and we are going to use this option called an inline function. So let's just select that. Now the argument that we're going to pass in is going to be the string. It's going to be the value that we're typing into our text box. So just like what we did before, we need to set that. We're going to say and select var here, and we're just going to call this now. We're just going to call this product like that. In fact, I'm going to call this name to be the same as my database column here. Now my string is going to be the same because it's going to be a string, but the value is going to, if I just select that, we now need to say, well, this is going to be now our widget state, which again is our product text field. This is going to be the text that we're keying in. So we've got that. So we know that we got this thing called name that contains the value of our product text field. But what we've got down below here is this expression. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this name here, and we're just going to do a simple trim. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type name in, I'm going to do dot, and then I'm going to do trim, and then I'm going to do an opening and a closing brace. Now if you were to sort of go and check this, go and do a ChatGPT check or something like that and have a look at what trim means, then it will give you a little bit more of an explanation of what this is in. And this is very common in a lot of programming languages where you have implementations of trimming string values. But of course what we now need to do is we now need to do check for errors. So that's now going to go and check that. It's going to come back and give us a bit of a tick there. So we're now good to go. If I just hit confirm now, if I just close that back down, if I just wait for that to finish what it's doing, then go here, and I'm just going to restart again. Go back now over to our application. In fact, I'm just going to go back here. Let's grab another one from the database. Let's just try the Apple AirPods Max here like that. Let's just copy that and go back here. Let's now go back here and just paste this in. Allow paste like that. Check the record exists. We know this is going to work. That is great. And just to check my case change here, just put the lowercase m in, check that the record exists, which it does. Now what happens if I put that space in? If I press space, oh, not an M, there's a space, there is a space there, hit check record exists, and it still finds it. Even though the user has put in lots of spaces here, we know that we're always going to get a trimmed right the way down to that particular string, right from there to there. Similarly, if I take that space off there, or I could keep it there, and I could put maybe the space at the beginning like that, I'm going to say check record exists, and the product does exist. So we know that we're meeting all of those particular conditions, and we know that that's working. So that is really good. There's one really important thing though that we should all be doing in Flutterflow. In fact, in any applications, we should be validating, making sure the user does actually type something into that text field. So let's just head back over to Flutterflow, and what we can do is we can go to the product text field here. We can right click and we can say wrap widget, and we're going to wrap widget now with a form validator like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to, in fact, sorry, I'm just going to remove that out actually, because I'm just going to wrap it around this particular column here, wrap widget to the form validator, because we want our button to kind of have access to our form validator. So I'm just going to select the product text field. I'm just going to move down here. You can see here that at the bottom we can set various different kind of properties about our particular kind of text field here. We can make sure that we can limit just using sort of text or numbers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to make any particular changes here, but I just wanted to point out that it's really important sometimes that you make sure that you do put your max length in as your text field. So you just want to make sure the user can't do anything crazy here. We could then say the max length is 255. We don't have to enforce it, but it's just worth to make sure that we don't allow the user just to type in or put any indefinite amount of characters in. It's just good sort of practice, but just for this test I'm just going to take that off. Just one thing I wanted to do here is on the validation, so just on the form itself. Now the form is going to pick up that we have a text field in there, so with that selected you can see here that we've got this particular product text field that's been picked up. I'm just going to select that because what I want to say is I'm going to say, well, this text field should always contain at least a minimum of 3 characters, and you can also put a maximum in here if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep it like that because what we can now do is we can now go into our check record exists and go back out there, go here, go to actions here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little plus here and go to add action, and there's an option here called a validate form. If I just select that, and I'm just going to select the form that I would like to validate, which is form 1. I didn't give my form a name, and I'm just going to move this up to the very, very top. Now this action is only going to proceed forward if it validates, if we have typed more than 3 characters into our text field. Anything different to what the form validator expects, these actions are not going to carry on. Okay, so this is really good. If I just now close this down here like that, that's great. If I just do a little refresh of our application, now go back over here. If I now type in something here like app like that, check record exist, it now says it requires 3 characters. If I type in app here like that, we know that we're good, but we know that we don't have any particular product found. So I'm just going to head back over to our table here, just copy that. Let's move that back here, delete that out of here like that, and just paste that in there, and I'll paste like that, check record exists, and we know that we are golden. So there we go. So that's there's many different ways, by the way, in Flutterflow where you can do this kind of thing. This is a really, really simple way, just using kind of action blocks here to, or at least actions here in Flutterflow to kind of carry out these type of tasks. But it's great for newcomers to Flutterflow who have kind of just sort of like, getting used to kind of how all this kind of stuff works. It's a great little walkthrough there to kind of show you some of the considerations that you can make when using sort of database lookups and all that kind of thing. So hopefully you found that super useful, and until the next one, I'll see you soon.